The Russian Defense Ministry says forces have conducted attacks on Ukrainian units in Avdivka direction, where a major offensive is ongoing. Artillery crews operating BM-21 grade multiple launch rocket systems launched several strikes at designated targets. The Russian ministry stated that the MLRS strike had been carried out using fragmentation and fugitive shells. While Ukraine has not commented on the claims, its armed forces said that the number of military clashes with Russian military units had increased to 60 over the past 24 hours. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has confirmed President Joe Biden had eased a ban on Ukraine using U.S. weapons inside Russian territory to help the country defend itself from Russian attacks. Speaking at a news conference alongside Moldovan President Maya Sandu, Mr. Blinken said President Biden's approval comes after Kyiv sought authorization from Washington in recent weeks. He also noted that Washington's easing comes at a time where there is a change in the nature of the battlefield and how Russia is pursuing its aggression.
We haven't encouraged or enabled strikes outside of Ukraine. But Ukraine, as I've said before, has to make its own decisions about the best way to effectively defend itself. We're going to make sure that it has the equipment it needs to do that. And another hallmark of our support for Ukraine over these now more than 2 years has been to adapt. As the conditions have changed, as the battlefield has changed, as what Russia does has changed in terms of how it's pursuing its aggression, escalation, we've adapted and adjusted to, and I'm confident we'll continue to do that. I think what you've seen over the last 2+ years is, as the nature of the battlefield has changed, as the locations, the means that Russia is employing have changed, we've adapted and adjusted to that, including, for example, by the different kinds of weapon systems that we and allies and partners have provided to Ukraine. Before this started, before the Russian aggression, when we saw it coming, President Biden made sure, for example, in drawdowns that he did months before the Russian aggression, the Ukrainians had Stingers and Javelins, which were instrumental in making sure that they could ward off the effort to take Kyiv and erase the country from the map. And at every step along the way, we've adapted and adjusted as necessary. And so that's exactly what we'll do going forward. We're always listening, we're always learning, and we're always making determinations about what's necessary to make sure that Ukraine can effectively continue to defend itself.
Meanwhile, European Union Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell has said that lifting restrictions on Western weapons used by Ukraine to target military objectives in Russian territory is a legitimate action under international law. He made this known at a press conference in Brussels. Now, Mr. Borrell's remark follows Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's call for urgent Western approval to use donated weapons for attacks on Russian territory. Mr. Zelensky made this statement after signing a long-term security agreement with Belgium, which includes the provision of 30 F-16 fighter jets by 2028. However, the agreement prohibits Ukraine from using these aircraft to strike targets on Russian soil.
We discussed also about something which has been high in the media, and the Secretary General of NATO referring to it. It is the possibility of lifting restrictions on Western weapons used by Ukrainian forces to target military objectives in Russian territory, in self-defense, but in Russian territory. It's clear that this is a legitimate action under international law, but it's also clear that it is a decision for each individual member states to take, and to take their responsibility on doing that or not. Some member states were against it, and they have a change in their mind, and today they are accepting to lift this limitation on the arms that they supply to Ukraine. But it is a member state capacity. No one can force a member state to lift this limitation on the arms they are supplying to Ukraine.
In the meantime, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg has reiterated his call for allies to reconsider lifting restrictions on Ukraine using Western-supplied weapons to hit targets in Russia. Reacting to this, Russia accused NATO, the US, and several European countries of provoking a new level of tensions, indicating they're enforcing the deliberate acts to continue the war.
There have been discussions about the type of support, but also the use of the support we provide. I think we need to recognize that allies are delivering many different types of military support to Ukraine, and some of them have imposed some restrictions on the use of these weapons. Others have no restrictions on the weapons they have delivered to Ukraine. These are national decisions, but I think that in light of how this war has evolved, in the beginning almost all the fighting took place on Ukrainian territory, deep into Ukrainian territory, but now the last weeks and months most of the heavy fighting has taken place actually along the border between Russia and Ukraine in the Kharkiv region. Therefore, I believe that the time has come to consider some of these restrictions to enable the Ukrainians to really defend themselves. And Ukraine has, according to international law, the right to defend themselves.